Hello, parents. My name is Matthew Thaxter, and I'm from Tech. I'm one of the professional development account managers here. And today we're going to cover a very important topic, especially at these times with a lot of remote learning and distance learning going on. As you can see, our topic is going to be Google Classroom, an overview for the parents, and that's for you. But technically, you students can also help out and learn how to use the platform. So before we waste any more time, let's get right to it. As you see right here, Google Classroom, that's my information. And our first part is, well, what is Google Classroom? We're going to talk about how to get started, how do you join, how do you help your students, especially if they're kindergarten, K, 1, 2, in that range of grades. We can help them. Explore the platform. Let's see what goes on and how the platform is laid out and how you can find all the things that you need to be successful in Google Classroom. Classwork, yes, things will be given to the students, whether it's materials, if it's assignments or quizzes. I'll show you where you can find all of those. And then we have assignments, things that need to be turned in for a grade and or a grade or not, but they will be graded. And then we have turning in work. So when you receive your assignment, how do you turn things in? Whether it's something that the students create themselves or something the teacher provides for them. And lastly, what if the teacher says, let's work remotely? So we're going to talk about an app called Meet. Okay, let us continue. So what is Google Classroom? As we know, that Google Classroom, pardon me, is a learning management system that is developed by Google for schools to aim to simplify creating, distributing, collaborating, and also grading assignments in a paperless way. Now, is it going to be 100% paperless in schools? No, but this is a good way to start, especially in these times. As we mentioned, there are things happening where there's a lot of remote learning going on. So, a little more details. Google Suite or G Suite for Education, it's a main platform. It's free for schools. If you weren't sure, it costs nothing to run G Suite for Education. Unless you're having apps like Chromebooks, there's a small cost. But other than that, it's free and doesn't cost a dime. It's very innovative. We have a way of collecting and file completions that students can do. They could do things remotely. They could do things in the classroom and the brick and mortar, as they say, but ideally it is that way. It also helps a teacher find things that are incomplete, and students can eventually get to the work necessary. They can't lose papers. Everything here is all digital. It's a great way of being productive, and it helps create, distribute, and also grade all the work that the teachers can do. But students can use the platform on their end also. But this is another key element here, is that student to student interaction. There's a way that students can chat with each other if it's turned on. There's also an element that the teacher can work with the students, and teacher and student can have some conversations. And lastly, there's a platform in which the teacher can provide resources for you, the parent. And that's another thing we're going to talk about. So let us continue. So first, how do we join? Inside our little window here, we have getting started. And now the teacher will create a class, and then from there, the students will have to join. So either they can join with a group code that the teacher will provide for them. So as you see, there's something that says ask the teacher for a code, and A, B, C, D, E is possible. But for the most part, if the students are not in the classroom, how else could they join? Well, the other way they could join, if they're not in the classroom to receive the code, especially that's a big thing right now, is that the teacher will also just automatically enroll the students in their class. And as you look right here, another way is that when the students go to classroom.google.com, they're going to find a what's called a tile. And this tile, as you can see, will have some indicators, the name of the teacher, the name of the class, and there's an option where it says to click to join or decline. When they click join, the new tile that you see over here on the right-hand side is going to display some new information. We'll discuss what those are. So let's see what that looks like once you're in there. So as you can see, I'm here in my Google Classroom as a student, and I'm the student, and I'm in Dr. Thaxter's class right here. And if you notice these two other icons, if I aim my mouse at the first one, it says open your work in the class. And the work would be things that are completed or things that need to be completed or other things that are provided for them. The one to the right, it actually takes them to what's called Google Drive, which is the online storage for all the resources that this class is being used for. And it goes directly to a folder dedicated for this class. So as a student, I'm going to click on the name of the class called Whovians because now I'm in. And now we know the student is in there, and you notice there's a lot of information available for them. So let's go through each part and let's discuss what that means. And with the next page right here, there's a top banner. So at the top, you'll see where it says stream, classwork, or people. And that actually, as we go through each one, will indicate the stream of thought that's going on, like threads and conversations. The classwork, what things will be provided for them, where they need to find the resources that the teacher will give to them as in handouts or tests or quizzes. And then people would be the people in their class. They have an option of chatting with the students or emailing the teacher directly from here. They don't need to use a Gmail. They could just email it directly from the classroom. On the lower left-hand side, it's called the side toolbars. And there's some things that pop up in there. So the first one will be, well, things that are upcoming. If something is new, upcoming, something that has a due date, they'll appear here. And there's something called topics, which has been recently moved, but topics could also be here also. So let's go navigate each one of these streams and see what happens. So first, in the stream, this one at the top is called Share Something with Your Class. They can leave a post and say, hey, class, how is everybody doing this week? And they can ask a question, and the rest of the class can answer if they'd like. Sometimes schools disable this just because they'd like to keep track of student progress and make sure they're on their best behavior. But we know our students and we know our children better than most teachers do, so this may or may not be deactivated. So let's go take a look and see what this happens. So now I'm in my Google Classroom, and I'm going to click on here. It says share something, and wait for the window to pop up, and I say hello class. Hello class. How is everyone doing today? And I have an option of I can add a file or a picture or something I'd like that a student may have access to. So a student can say, I want to upload something from Google Drive. Maybe they made a poem and they want to put it in there. Maybe there's a link to a website of something. They can add a file from their computer. If they made something with Photoshop or something and they want to upload it, they can. And the bottom is maybe they want to give a link to YouTube. That's a possibility. But right now, just as my little student, as myself, I'm just going to click post, give it a few moments, and it will appear on the news feed. So that's first part of the stream. As we scroll down the stream, you're going to see there's a lot of information, kind of like Facebook. The older the post, they'll be at the bottom, and the newer the posts, they'll be at the top. So if I was in here and Mr. Thaxter, doctor, he posted a new assignment for vocabulary on March 20th. So I can go back and I can investigate that option if necessary. I'll just click on the doctor's posted, and a new page will open up, and I go look at the work that needs to be done. I'm going to go back a page. So there's my comment, and so far this says there's nothing up and coming in this class. Woohoo. But I noticed that Mr. Thaxter posted something right here. So maybe he posted a little video. So I'm going to click on this video, and me being the student, I'd like to see what Mr. Thaxter has to say. So let's see what the doctor has to give us. So I'll click the link, and here's our video. And just like any student will push play, and we'll see what's being said. Hello everybody, this is Matthew and I'm trying out how to record a meet for a greeting. As you can see, I'm home with my family because that's the background noise that you hear. Get out of camera. And I'm just going to pause that. As you can see, that was just exactly how it worked. It's a new tab. I will close that tab and we'll get right back to work. So as you noticed, that was what the stream is all about. Teacher can post comments, they can post assignments, and it is a very long stream of things that if it's a school year, it can go on for a very long time. And that's what the stream is all about. So this is what they know what's going on. This is what's new and exciting. And this is something that students can share to each other and or the teacher can share to the students. And that's what that's for. So now we're going to go back to our presentation. And so we're back. And as we move on, so what is classwork? Now classwork for us, as it notes right here, from here, the students will either create the answers or they turn in the materials that they need, and everything will be associated in this classwork feature. So if you look at the tabs going down on this image here, left-hand side is called the topics, and that's where things are broken down by categories. If the teacher says it's classwork, homework, maybe it's quizzes, or maybe it's broken down by chapters of learning, that's where a teacher can isolate and break down all the possibly hundreds of things that the teacher could post through assignments and quizzes could be posted and actually just broken into small segments there. So let's go explore what it looks like from the student perspective. So from the classwork, They'll be how do they view their assignments that's upcoming? That's a very big thing for them. So if you notice here, there's a spot that says view your work. Very nice. If I click view my work, and when they do that, it was going to pop up a new window. And at the bottom are some examples. So for example, one student here is missing some work. They can always go back and find out what they're missing. They can see what they've turned in or when things are assigned, but may or may not have a due date. So let's go see what it looks like in live form from the class. So I'm going to click on Classwork. Now, when I go to Classwork, you're going to realize that it's very similar to what I have here. And as I scroll down, you'll see there are the topics on the left-hand side. It'll say daily meetup, classwork, homework, quizzes. So the first part right here are things that are not assigned to any particular topic. But as I scroll down, you'll see daily meetup, classwork, and homework. So there's no due date for classwork, but I can always click on the classwork folder and you'll see things that are put there. There's a blank quiz that has to be filled out, and I may have to turn it in there. But right now, I don't have to. So I'm going to go back page now, and you'll see there's one for classwork and homework and quizzes. Again, these are what teachers are categorizing all the potentially hundreds of things that may pop up over the course of time that they're working remotely or even in the classroom. These could still be homeworks through the regular school year. So that's classwork. But see at the top here where it says view your work, if I click that more specifically, you'll get a very narrowed list regardless of the filters or the things that are broken down by categories or topics. So if I'm missing something, I can always click on an assignment. I'll click on what does time mean to you? And when a student does click that, it will automatically generate the handout for them. And notice their name's automatically attached along with the title. So none of this, I forgot to put my name on the homework. For you as a parent, you don't have to stress about helping a child by putting their name on it, make sure it's done in the right category, the time and date, because when they open up the document, all of this is vetted and it's already approved in the sense that here's a document, teacher sharing it with the students, and it's automatically generated for them. So if I go to document it here and I click that link, it's going to open up the document. And now the student, again, I've already did a little bit of work on this one, but the student could continue with the question. It says, if you had time to visit anywhere in space and time, where, when, and who would you like to meet? And of course, more importantly, why? So there's a response. And so as a student, I could potentially answer the question if necessary, if that's how it's assigned. So as student is doing the work, and that's pretty much where it all comes from. So as you notice, there are things that the student can filter out, things that are assigned, things that are returned with a grade. So if a child does the work, maybe they want to see what grade they got. So far, the teacher hasn't replied to anything. So if you're with your younger students, you can actually help them find out what grades they got on certain tests or assignments or quizzes, and they'll be posted on here. Missing are the things, well, they haven't turned in on time or they haven't opened or initiated any of the work. So there are a few assignments that are missing. So that again, that's from the student perspective trying to do this work here. Back to my presentation. And so when the student does have all these resources available for them and they have to do the work, and as we mentioned, they choose the assignment, and in the assignment here, they have a spot where, well, if they click on the assignment, as I mentioned, it will appear. And this will give them time. It automatically attaches their name on it. And that's, I mentioned before, that's huge, especially for the younger students. It takes one less step out of what they have to create. As the example here, if you notice, there's the article that the student had typed in there, used a quote from a particular author to generate the answer. And as they're finished, if you notice in the upper right-hand corner, they have the ability of, say, turn in their work. They click turn in, and the teacher gets it automatically. And the teacher can grade it, and the teacher can send back comments. And if there are live comments, they appear in the actual document. And when it appears in a document, that is actually pretty cool. Because it's in their document, they have the ability of having kind of like a private chat about their work. Teacher can leave comments or suggestions on how to make some changes, and the student can have this little line back and forth. So that's completing the assignments. And that's actually, it's a pretty big deal considering now sometimes with a template, they can get a lot more work accomplished than hemming and hawing for who knows how long to how do I start this thing? They actually have something already created for them. Now, when it comes to turning in the assignments, this is another key part right here. So as it mentions, if there are no attachments simply there, the students could just do a link. Maybe it's a link to a website, complete the activity online, come back to the classroom and click the and indicate I did it as mark is done. So that way it's all finished for them. Along with that, if there is a file attached, they would just do the normal, as I mentioned earlier, complete the assignment. And when it's all finished, they'll just click turn it in, the big black button that you see on the right hand side. But sometimes, if their work is given to them, it says, please watch the video and open up a document and therefore turn it in. They can have the ability that you see over here on the right hand side to add or create. They can click on create. It'll ask you, what do you want to do? You can say Google Doc. So let me go back to an assignment and show you how that works. So I'll go back to my classroom here and go back to classes. And I'll go to classwork. And from here, let's say I want to work on something that requires me to not use an attachment. So here's the assignment. I'm going to click View Assignment. And there's nothing here, but I could, if I want, the file has copied from me, has been removed. That's okay. So I'm just going to make a new one. New document. And what do I want to create? A Google Doc. And when it does that, you'll notice it's called TAS. That's the name of the file. Give it a few seconds here because Wi-Fi is very precious. So if I click on the article or whatever it is I'm starting from scratch, and realize that when it does open, it's going to show me a blank document. But notice the top, it has the child's name and the name of the assignment. So they don't have to worry about changing anything or adding anything. It's automatically done. So here we can have our own recording. And I'll be a little trickery and see if the camera works here. I'll do a little voice typing. And I'll click here to speak. This is, oh, let's allow my microphone. And this is me typing in a response. And let's see if it pops up for those students with special needs who needs a little bit of extra help because they can't type fast enough. Period. I'll stop my recording. And now notice in the upper right-hand corner, it says turn in. Let's say the student is not finished and you're there trying to help them up as much as possible. Or if you're the student and you're not done, just simply close the tab. You're going to realize that all the changes are saved. So I'll click close the tab. On the right-hand side, it says turn in from here. Anytime the child needs to finish the work, they can keep coming back to the same document, click that, and continue where they left off. It's just that easy. But when they're finished, they can click turn in. Are they asking, are you sure you want to turn it in? Because then technically they cannot edit their document again. So it's basically putting it back on the teacher's desk and say, here's my work. So if I'll choose turn it in. Now, student or parent who are trying to help your child, and they'll say, oh, I forgot to add something. Well, it's easy. They come back to the assignment, and then you're just going to click where it says unsubmit. And when they choose unsubmit, it takes it back. It says, hey, heads up, anything that teacher made comments about or even potentially gave you a grade, they're still going to be there, but it will allow you to edit and make some changes. So it's like taking the paper back off the teacher's desk to do some more work. So I'm going to choose unsubmit. And now I can go back and edit my document. And that's really how easy it is for students to do the work and turn them in when necessary. Now, granted, there's many different assignments that they could be assigned to, like a Google quiz, which is basically what's called a Google form, and they just fill out the information and they hit submit from there. Let's continue with our presentation. As we know, when it comes to assignments, students can do these things quite easily. Again, with a little coaching, a little experience, they'll get it down in no time. So our last big one that we really would like to discuss is that eventually, as the teachers would love to communicate with their students, how will they do this? There's something called a Google Meet. A Google Meet is part of the Google platform in which the students and the teachers can have meetings that chime back and forth. Now, in this little wary time that we have here with a lot of remote learning going on, my own family here, as you can see, I'm recording from home. My daughter's a high school student, and she just had a Google Meet, Hangout Meet with some of her co-teachers, pardon me, with some of her student friends, and also the teacher. they got together and they discussed the things that are happening during the day. So as you can see on my slide here, it says that if the teacher has posted a link to the routine Google Meet that they tend to do, there are a few ways in which they can join. So let's look at our three big options. One, if it's a dedicated link, they can hit what's called bookmark on their Google browser and it stays right there when they need it. They just click it and off it goes. Another way is through Google Calendar. Now, believe it or not, through Google Calendars, anything that is assigned by a teacher to the students will appear in what's called a Google Calendar. And we'll review that in a little bit. And lastly, a teacher may provide things to the class to that classwork tab that I mentioned earlier. But the thing about this is that there isn't an assignment, there isn't due dates for anything, or not anything that has to return with a grade. They're just information or materials, keyword, for the students to have throughout the course of the year. So let's go explore how a student can join in on the meeting and work with the teachers. If they need to have a daily meetup, hey guys, let's have a daily affirmation. You guys are doing great. Some teachers love doing this with their students. So let's explore as a student and as a parent how they can help get into these meets. Okay, here we go. So I'm student and I'll go back to my classroom. Now, the teacher does made it what's called a materials for the students. Student comes to class and there's nothing here. Now there was an option. It says the doctor posted new material and it says let's meet every morning. Click the link and it takes it to, oh, the teacher made a dedicated link and that's there. So let me back up a step. If this was going back a few months and the teacher posted this in the beginning of the year, there's a way the teacher can keep putting it at the top of the list to remind students that there's something there. But if they forget, and sometimes it's a very busy time for everybody, is that is a material that will be located in the classwork folder. So I'm going to go to classwork and I'll click that. And in there, it says right there, daily meetup. It's a material. You can usually tell by the icon with like a bookmarking type thing on a page. I will click that link and it says go to our class meeting. And it's a dedicated link every single time. So myself as River Song student, I'm going to click on this and let's go see if the doctor's in. So now it says I'm ready and there's a weird feedback because my microphone's on. And I'm going to say allow and allow. So now it's waiting for me to start and it's weird because you see me at the same time. But this over here is actually set up for me to join the meeting if necessary. And that's how a student can join. I'm going to close out this tab. So when you're the parent or if you're a student and you don't know how to help collect to your meetings, they're there. But this is if a teacher posts it there. But if a teacher does make a scheduled meeting, let's say 10 o'clock from 10 to 12 every day, the teacher will be available for a FaceTime style or a Google Hangout meeting with the students if with any questions throughout the day. It may or may not appear here. So let's discuss where else it might be. Anytime in a Google Classroom world, and if I go to here, there's an option for calendar right here. I'm going to click on the calendar. Now, it will open up anything of the upcoming week. It's always 7 days ahead. So we have a 7-day week view, and there's nothing assigned yet. These little navigation arrows, back or forth, will show you week by week anything that may be potentially due or something that is late. Right now, this particular teacher did not assign anything. Now, if you're on a middle school or an upper grade level where you have students who have multiple teachers, on the left-hand side where it says all classes, you can help your child find the right class. So right now, there's only one that River's on. She has the Whovians, that's her class. But if she had a science or an ELA or a math teacher, they could have different classes and he or she can check out all the different schedules from that teacher. But what else could we get to? As I mentioned before, I'm going to go back to my classes. And this time I'm going to go through the classwork and notice the other Google Calendar right here. That Google Calendar opens up actually Google Calendar. And it's its own, and it may look like a add calendar. Yes. Uh-oh. Hey, yes. Awesome. So the student who's using calendar, you notice on the left-hand side, River has her own. Yes, I know. Add that in there. River has her own calendar, but she's also part of the Whovians calendar. And the Whovian calendar is when things are due. So the student can look at weekly, or in this case, let's go month by month. And over here, anything that's set up by a teacher will appear there. So let's just say I'm teacher and I'm going to make a Google Hangout for the students. So just to kind of walk you through the steps here. So if the teacher does want to set up a calendar appointment to allow all the students in the class to be invited, so the teacher just may go into calendar, and when they do, there's an option for them to create a new assignment, a new calendar that is, and they can post it here. And there's an option that if the teacher is very good and uses Google Sites to really get the parents more involved, because mom and daddy cannot get into the Google Classroom unless they sign in as a child. There is no true parent portal, but I'll explain how some parents can get access in there. So with that, I'm going to choose take me a few moments. I'm a teacher. I'm going to create a calendar event, and I'll call it Meetup for Whovians. And I need to do a quick change here because I'd rather do this real time with you to show you how quickly things could appear on the calendar. So as a teacher, they're going to add conferencing. It's a Google Meet, and they have that set up there. And when it's all said and done, they're going to assign it to their classes. And they'll assign it to their Whovians class, quantum mechanics. And when it's all said and done, they'll hit save. And when it does appear, I may have to refresh the page as a student. Let me refresh my calendar. And you're going to see something appear in a few moments. Come on. And I got to remember when I set that date for. Pardon me. And where's my appointment? I put it on here. And so it will eventually appear there. So if the teacher did not post it there, the student can always come to the classroom and see in this view all the work that's assigned. It'll be color coded by the grade and or subject, and also the assignment that could be available for them to view. Get to my Whovian class, just make sure it got pushed out because I want to make sure we're all doing the right thing. And let's go back in here. But I know this seems like a very crazy time, but it is for everybody. And give it a few moments. It should take a few moments for it to generate and populate on the Whovians class. It will get there, but eventually the teacher should just copy and paste it in the calendar. But that's where they would appear in this segment. So let's go back to our classroom. So as we mentioned, they can find it in Google Calendar if the teacher does it properly and puts it inside the daily meetup. Along with that, as I mentioned, they have access to their Drive folder, which is full of their resources that the student can either make their own, that not necessarily in the classroom, but this is the stuff that's dedicated to their own class. So all the work that they create in Google Classroom will be in this one particular folder. Let's click that. Now, technically, if they move the information from the folder, it's gone from the class. And that could be stuff that's graded, something that's potentially handed out as material for the students. But if you notice, all the material is there. That's the stuff that was given by the teacher or that the student has created themselves. And that's where that classroom folder really takes them into the Google Drive. And as I mentioned, here's all your topics, and here's all the different materials. So keeping that in mind, Google Classroom is a platform for the students to collaborate with the teachers. And as I mentioned, well, how does a parent know what is going on here? And for that point, it's just called Guardian Summaries. So if you're a parent at home and the teacher does initiate the classroom, you should have gotten an email, potentially, if they have your email, of, hey, we're using Google Classroom, and here is the resources that we're using for our class. Would you like to know what's going on? And they'll give you a link. That you click the link and you say, yes, I want to be reminded daily or weekly any updates related to the class, such as when things are due, when did my child miss things, or even potentially the grades that get pushed out. If you didn't get an email like that, double check with the teacher and see if that's an option that the school did enable for the teachers. All right. So with that being said, my name is Matthew, and this was really getting to know the Google Classroom as an overview for the parents. So if you have any comments, questions, concerns, you can reach out to us at any time at at tech.com. Okay, thank you very much and have a great day. Bye now.